Hello. Hello.
Hey,
It's Thursday.
what's up, brother?
Happy Thursday. How you doing, Jamar?
Man, I'm grateful.
Starting to get used to this vested thing, this Thursday vested thing. I'm putting my thoughts into it all week. This is becoming quite interesting as it has a good space in my brain, man.
Develops.
It feels good. Last week was awesome. Having Aaron on the show was it was cool, man. It gave us something to like work towards and be excited about. And yeah, man, I feel like we're doing something awesome, and I feel really good about it. So now that we're sitting here in front of our computers, what do you have to say about yourself, Jamar?
Man, just thankful for you, the brain back there, tech team, vested community, just attitude of gratitude. I'm going to share some real quick, Coach D. I got a little hangry this afternoon.
That's how
How
does, bro? How does you have to feed it? You have to feed the bones, Yeah.
I could feel when the fuse was short. I felt it, and I was like, okay. I was aware of it, and I was like, you know what? Don't share that with people, even though you're feeling in that moment. Like I wanted to just snap into a Slim Jim, But
I'm sure pretty much anybody. I'll snap into anybody.
The commercial is snap into a Slim Jim.
So, okay, let me ask you this. Would you say, obviously we tend to get a little bit emotionally unstable when we're hungry, but are you affected at all? And I know generally what your answer tends to be when I ask you a question like
sure?
This, the collective fear, the collective drama. Do you think that's affecting you in a way that you might or might not be directly aware of?
Are you talking about in the world?
Yeah, just a buzz. You know what I mean? Like,
okay. You want to know something, man? And here's the thing: everyone has an opinion, so it's just the way it is.
Right.
If you ask me right now what's going on in the political world, I couldn't even tell you. If you ask me what's going on in the news today, I couldn't even tell you. So for me, I set these boundaries where I only allow certain information in, or if there's something that I want to know or learn, then I specifically research that information. So to answer your question, brother, like even today, I'm rolling around, you go in one store and they don't say nothing about a mask. You go into another store and they're like, hey, it's all about the mask. Today I went to Verizon to ask some questions about the internet, the service, and Verizon, they don't even let you come into the store. They meet you outside the store to check you in. I was like, man, but I was like, hey, they're doing what they got to do, procedure, protocol, whatever people got to do to make sure they're feeling safe. So I'm just rolling through whatever is going on, man. I'm not giving a lot of time and energy to all these variables I can't control. So to answer your question, no, I'm not letting this outside crap bring me down.
Well, good, man. And honestly, thank you for sharing that with me and everybody here with the Vested community, because I believe that I'm so close to being in a situation where I can accept an existence that looks like that. And I think the only thing that, in my opinion, gets in my way to be able to receive life in the way that you're proceeding forward with it is myself. And it seems like that should be the easiest thing to move out of the way. And whether we're talking about past programming or whatever, on this show, we inspire, we create, and we empower. And as we're starting to look into what the next few weeks are going to look like, as we leaders shifted from last week, it seemed almost inevitable to get into teamwork. And one of the reasons why is because, in my opinion, man, like the team doesn't look the way that I thought it would. It's because I had expectation. And I think that those types of thoughts and emotions can get in the way of doing what you just talked about. So what the Vested community doesn't know is Jamar shared something very special with me over the weekend when we were trying to talk about how to move into this leader shifting to teamwork. And I had discussed with Jamar a conversation that I had with one of our Vested community viewers about his faith. And I told my friend that I was speaking with, I said, listen, I don't know specifically what Jamar's faith, where it comes from, but I know that when I see faith in motion, this is what it equals, and this is why. And I didn't have the details, but I understood by the way he moves through his life, what a leader looks like in relationship to his teammates. And I desire to have that passion behind what it is that I do without the fear, without throwing myself in the way. So this week, as we are going to leadership into teamwork, I think it's important for us to understand that the inspiration and the creativity and the empowerment is going to look a little bit different. So this video that we're going to play right now is going to kind of lay the foundation for where we're going today on the show. So Rebecca, if you give it a go.
Let's go.
What this lesson means for teams, the ones that truly accept it. Everything changes. Because here's the deal. Things always go great for a team until they don't. And then what? What happens in that moment? When the team is breaking down, people are pulling apart, what happens then? Because that's the decision point. That's when teams decide, become great or stay average. You see, most teams don't realize it, that hard defines great. They've got to grab hold of hard. They were waiting for hard because there's almost no other way through to greatness. Hard lets you know the opportunity is opening. Here's the catch. The hard I'm talking about, the hard that typically gets in the way, it's not championship hard. No, everybody wants that. It's character hard. The willingness to push through all the tough lessons along the way. For teams, it's not just the test of talent. It's the test of teammates. Because before teams are great, before they are legendary, the teammates needed to decide. Chicago Bulls, knocked out of the playoffs by the same team 3 times, ready to explode. Then unbelievable happened.
And the Chicago Bulls have won their first ever NBA championship.
The Bulls have learned their lessons well. They've grown up.
Steve Jobs and Apple, torn apart, emotions at their height, until they figured it out.
In hindsight, it was a terrible mistake for Steve to be pushed out.
This is what makes us great. Man on the moon, no precedent, no rule book, nothing easy about the years of quiet work before the headlines were written. Long before success, teammates are tested. That's when they had to decide. Something starts the fire. Great teams always have potential, but then something happens. Everything comes to a head. They didn't win the battle. They didn't reach their goals. The true challenge becomes real. You know, we all think we're signing up for the championship. The push to reach the goal that everyone is watching, everyone's cheering for. We get that part. We think that's the test. And of course it becomes the final exam, but the first test is always earlier.
Steve Jobs.
That was the decision point. Things get hard for teammates. How do we respond? Back against the wall, emotions boiling up, second guessing begins. We think it's just effort, desire, commitment to reach our goals. All that matters. We know that's coming. But what about the trust after that breaks down? What about the belief after the momentum's been lost? What about the dynamics after the split has started? Of course you were signing up for success. Who isn't? But did you know you were signing up for the messy part that comes first? That's why the teams that are willing to take on that part, that accept it, that use it, that's why they win. So what do? You now know the test. And the test has likely arrived. Hard defines greatness. And the teammates will decide. Now go and make amazing happen.
Go and make amazing happen.
Shout out to Tyler Wayne, YouTube. Tyler, I believe in what you're doing, bro. Keep it up, man. Thank you so much for being a part of our team here at Vested and for YouTube or throwing out the platform so that we can have amazing videos like that. So Jamar,
Absolutely.
I'm in this show. We inspire, we create, and we
That's
empower.
powerful.
And you know, as a leader, as a leader shift, it's important for me to turn inward and recognize that it's so important for me to have a good team around me. And I am extraordinarily grateful to have you as not only a teammate, but as a leader in my life. And I needed some inspiration last week, and I didn't even know why, and I didn't know where it was going to come from. And when you shared your story with me about faith, it just struck me in such a way that I couldn't stop thinking about it in terms of how we're going to make this into a leadership for our team, for our vested team, for everybody here watching and participating in this movement that we're working on. I mean, it's going to start small, but boy, oh boy, do we know where it's going. And honestly, man, I think we should do it on the foundation of the faith that you have within you, Jamar. And I'd really like you now to share with our whole community what you shared with me last week, because it's one of the most inspirational damn things I think I've ever heard, and I'd like to hear it again.
Well, thank you for that, Coach D, and also too, I want to also high five our brother Tyler Way for that awesome video. You know, and in his way, right? He's inspiring, encouraging, right? Creating and empowering people. But it was interesting that conversation we had the other day. You know, it wasn't scripted, right? We were just talking, and you just shared with me, you know, what this presence that I bring in this space, what it could look like to some people, right? And remember, everyone has an opinion, so it's okay. People are entitled to have their own opinion. But you asked me a question, and I share with you a story about my dad, you know, and the man I am today, you know, right here in this message, in this October 8th. Actually, today, by the way, wait, time out, Coach D. Today's my sister's birthday. Erica Baker, I love you. You are so amazing.
Happy birthday, Erica Baker.
Woo! Yeah, it's her birthday today. But in this space, you know, I'm the kind of person, man. I'm like you, Coach D, right? You know, when people meet us, this is who we are. Like you don't know me a year from now. I'm like, oh man, I never knew that was him. You know, like that's not how I roll. And so it's not that I don't try to not be vulnerable, but I do my best to operate in absolute total faith. And that's me. You know, God said we all have our own measure of faith, and it's never here to compare our faith to anyone else's faith. We all have our own journey. But, you know, and my dad's my number one spiritual teacher, and everyone around me in my life has had some contribution to my faith, but my dad is my number one teacher. And when my dad was diagnosed, I remember we were going up the stairs one day, and I saw a lump in the back of my dad's neck. And I said, Dad, what is that? It's called, you know, he just shoved it off. And then we noticed that as he was eating, like his swallowing wasn't the same. And so he went to the doctor, and that's when he found out he had some type of throat cancer. It was actually a tumor that was growing underneath the back of his tongue. So the tumor was under the back of the tongue, which was protruding through his neck. And they went in, they did an emergency trach, and they said, hey, your airway is so small. Like, you know, imagine, you know, that like the little cocktail straws, like the little tiny straw, like they're like his air hole was so tiny. And then they said emergency trach situation. And when we thought about, was that the best way to go? And we went that route. And through the process, it was by the grace of God. I remember the morning I was in my home, and I got on my knees, man. And that's my shirt. I got on my knees, and I said, God, you handle it. Because I knew there was nothing that I could do. There's nothing that any person could do to bring Dad through that. And I said, God, you handle it. And that was it. Like I just stood in that moment, and I spoke to God, bam, you handle it. And I just stayed in total faith. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just believed for miracles, man. And check this out. So Dad got the trach put in, and the doctor that put the trach in, that doctor disappeared. That doctor my dad couldn't get back in touch with that doctor to remove the trach. But it was by the grace of that, not being able to connect with that doctor, because through that action of that doctor disappearing, my dad found Dr. J. And Dr. J was a godsend. Dr. J, my dad goes to Dr. J, and Dr. J right away, he's like, he's an ENT, ear, nose, and throat doctor. So like, this is his specialty. Like this area, the region is like, that's what he does, you know? and he saw my dad right away. He knew right away what was going on. And, you know, not to go down the wrong path of painting the wrong picture, but the cancer started to create this acid and smell, and it wasn't a very pleasant smell. And like that, when Dr. J smelled the smell, he knew exactly what it was. Like, that's how much of an expert he was. And through that, you know, Dr. J said, hey, we got to go to surgery immediately. We got to get on the calendar. We got to get you in here. Boom, we got to get this tumor out. And Dr. J told me the day of the surgery, he said, Jamar, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to remove the tumor. He explained to me. He says, but if I go in there and the tumor has destroyed too much of the tongue, where if I remove the tumor, that is going to, like, basically your dad have no tongue, I'm not going to do the procedure because there's no point to remove everything and he doesn't have a tongue. And I said, okay. And it was supposed to be like a 6-hour procedure. And about 2 hours in, I'm outside the hospital and Dr. J, you know, he calls me and he walks out. And I knew right away when he called me, obviously he's supposed to be there 6 hours. It's only 2 hours in. He said, where are you at? I said, I'm outside. So he came outside and he said, hey, listen, there's nothing we can do. It's too late. You know, your dad's terminal. And I just looked at Dr. J. And in that moment I said, Dr. J, what could we have done?
Jamar, real quick before you continue, you showed me a couple of pictures. Would now be a good time to show you what they found, or should we wait until you're finished? Because we got to do a visual representation of how this was not.
Yes. Yeah, so show the picture. Show a picture. I'll show you what it was like when Dr. J started.
Okay, this is the first pictures. Yeah, this is the
So go back. There's another picture.
We got only two of them.
Okay, that was the first. So that right there, that picture that's the throat, and that's the cancer that's built up, that's wrapped around in the throat. So this is what it looked like when Dr. J was going in to perform the procedure.
I don't even see a spot to swallow through.
No, so that's what Dr. J said. The cancer was so ingrained and wrapped around their throat that if he would have removed the cancer, it would have been so much of the tongue, the throat, it would have been a poor quality of life.
Secondary.
Yeah. So but check this out, man. By the grace of God, when I said that, he said, listen, I said, Dr. J, what could we have done? He said, man, come to my house tonight. I said, what? He said, come to my house tonight. He says, Jamar, you have to tell your dad and you have to tell your family that your dad's terminal and come to my house tonight. Now, I'm going to share this with you here. When my dad was in my car that day after he's sedated and he's coming out of it, I wrote this note to my dad. Check this out here, Coach D, as I pull this up. I wrote this note to my dad and I said, Dad, I texted to him because he couldn't talk. This is my note. I can screen. This is my note. You can't see it, but this is my note right here. It says, I texted, I typed it out in my notes section. I said, Dad, cancer is spread in your throat, tongue area, too much to remove to perform surgery. I'm going to Dr. J's house tonight to discuss the game plan. He's given me some God-strong, supernatural, cancer-destroying drugs that you must take if you want to live. He doesn't want me to tell anyone, not even the family. That's what I texted my dad, or I showed my dad the note when he got in the car, and he looked at me.
What did he say?
He said, okay. Like, he just gave me like the head nod. Like I said,
okay, cool, fine.
Yeah, like when I said, Dad, if you want to live, this is the game plan.
It's all word. All right, let's do it.
But you know,
some special drugs down there. Woo, magic.
Right, sedated, and like he's like, all right. So I went to Dr. J's house that night, and that's when the miracle started to unfold. Dr. J, and I don't want to say his whole name, but Dr. J is part of a pharmaceutical company that he started, him and some partners, and they have been working on this cancer-destroying drugs that's not even FDA approved yet, but it was through they were testing it, and he started to treat my dad, man. Started to treat my dad, and so I watched. Pull up the next picture. So after we started to treat my dad, that first picture. So back, there's one more back. Okay, one after that. Go back. So that was the end. That was the end. That was after months after taking the treatment that you see. The cancer had already destroyed some of the tongue, but where's the tumor?
It's gone.
There's no.
from Vested Community, where is Dr. J. We're trying to keep this guy not shot in the head. So what we can do is just say, have faith and pray. And that's when these people show up.
Right. And so here, when you look at what happened is that, when dad went in to get the trach, and then through that doctor going MIA found Dr. J, and then Dr. J going in to perform the surgery, and then saying, hey, your dad's terminal. He gave him like a 2 or 3 month time frame to live. But he said, hey, we've been working on this, and basically this is your only shot. And so I just had not only absolute faith in God, I had absolute faith in Dr. J. Like, I didn't question it. I said, Dr. J, you're here right now for a reason, and you're the man working on this miracle drug, and my dad is under your care. Let's go. And when I told my dad that, and I told my family, I said, don't ask me no questions. I said, and like, that's it. And so the only way, Dr. J never would communicate with my dad. He only communicated to me, and then I would communicate to my dad and make sure my dad was doing what he had to do. But it wasn't a clean process, man. Like he said right here, you got to get messy before you get success. And I saw my dad fight so hard, and it wasn't even really the cancer that dad was fighting. He was fighting the complications of it. He was fighting the trach. He was fighting, because then the trach still had to be in there because they couldn't take the trach out. And so the trach, we were still, and anyone has a trach, the cleaning process and the way the body produces the phlegm and the mucus and all the internal workings. But man, I saw my dad come through, and when they did that, now pull that the last picture up that shows where the tumor is gone. Okay, when we saw this picture, man, once again, we've all know someone who's had cancer, who's passed away from cancer. We all know people who've gotten surgery, have gotten radiation, chemo. I can't explain it to you. I don't know what happened. I tell you right now, there was no surgery, there was no chemo, and there was no radiation. All we did was listen to Dr. J. And I believe God supernaturally healed my dad through Dr. J. And so that was me. That when you talk about my faith, like where I'm at today, living my life, man, that was a miracle. I saw that.
Hold on. I agree. And I was blown away by the miracle. And if you would have stopped right there, that would have been plenty for me. Okay. But to me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to utilize this story in particular was because of the conversation that I had with my other friend, because I had to explain to my other friend a story that personified your faith or was a representation of it, because you're leaving out a key element, because you did pray. The cancer did go away. There was a miracle. Now, I want you to finish the story and let everybody know how that all panned out and what's going on today and who you still are as a result of it. Because Jamar, to me, your faith is incredible. Everybody's heard a story where there's this amazing thing like that happen. But to me, for you to hold strong to your faith, to be able to hold true to who you were and what God was in your life after what you're about to tell everybody, that's why I wanted to share what we're going through. Because honestly, man, dude, that's life. This is just how life works, and you have to keep going, and you have to lean on your teammates when that happens. So please, tell me, finish up, Jamar.
In some form of loss, right? And so no one is immune to that. But when my dad went through that process, and I saw how much of it, I saw more of my dad's faith in that and him going through that than ever, because he was still thanking God. He was still grateful. He was still teaching the word of God in the toughest moment of his life. And when dad was supernaturally healed from the cancer, right? A few years before, when dad got diagnosed, dad had a stroke, and half of dad's, one side of his body, it was actually impacted, right? And the lip was down, and he didn't have motor function, but he got healed from that, totally healed, recovery. So dad's heart had already had some type of, impact, and it wasn't operating in full capacity. Well, a year after dad powered through the cancer and was still working, finishing the healing process. Dad went to the doctor because he was having some challenges breathing. And now check this out. The cancer didn't spread anywhere, but dad was having some challenges breathing. He went in to the hospital, and dad had a heart attack. And so dad ended up transitioning March 1st of 2019 to heaven. And I got the call that morning, Friday morning. And right away, when I saw the hospital's number on my phone that early, I already knew that there was a reason they're calling me. And when the doctor told me, God gave me supernatural peace. Like, I can't even explain it. It's like peace just came over my entire body. And it was like so calm, because I knew immediately that my dad was in heaven. And that's my faith. That's me. For someone else to go through that same exact experience who doesn't have that relationship, it might have been a totally different situation. And even someone who might believe, who maybe has natural faith, but when that time comes, they don't know where that loved one goes. Not everyone understands or just has that childlike faith. But God gave me supernatural peace, right? And that day, I went through my entire day, crushing my entire day, told my family, told my daughter. I didn't tell my daughter to the end of the day. And I didn't cry all day. I didn't cry all day. After I told my daughter and my daughter cried, I got home. I didn't cry on the phone with my daughter. I was there strong with her. But when I got home, man, I just sat down and I just started crying. It was just like such a cleansing cry. Boom. It's just like I released it. And the very next day, check this out, Coach D. The very next day was the international speech contest for Toastmasters. And I was representing challengers, and I didn't have a speech until that morning. And you know what the speech was called? The Transition. And so I was able to go up there the very next day, deliver a message, and hopefully someone in that audience was like, man, I don't know what the transition is like. Let me just have a little bit more faith than I had yesterday. And so through that process, but there's been a few times since then where I'll be driving, man. I remember this was earlier this year, end of last year, I was driving, I live in South County. I was going to a meeting in the morning, and then the sun was coming up. It's like 7 a.m. And I was playing this song in my car. And all of a sudden I just felt my dad's presence. I just felt the power of God, man. I was like, and I just started crying, but it wasn't a cry out of sadness. It was just a cry out of like, thank you, God. Thank you, Dad, for making me a warrior. It was that kind of cry. Like, I'm so grateful, Dad, that you gave me this warrior spirit. And so my faith, man, when people see me, like, that's my faith. Like, I don't fake it. I stand.
Unadulterated, unwavering, hard defines greatness. Okay, now I know you now, Jamar, and I was trying to explain this to my friend when I was explaining it to him what that was. But if you want to play this tape back and you want to watch Jamar explain everything from start to finish, it's not that there was ever a high or ever a low. The whole thing is faith. It's not that, and then this was hard and then this was not so hard. And it was like, when you have what Jamar has, when you have unadulterated, unwavering faith, that's what it looks like. It's a rhythm. It's a pulse. It doesn't mean that it doesn't go up and down, down and up. It just means that rhythm stays strong the whole time. So I knew that we were going to go into this section of creation in this show, and I knew that we were going to transition, and I knew I was going to jab Jamar with this question. Jamar, a lot of us right now, as we go through this dramatic change, are having to go through this acceptance phase that sucks, because we're looking at the things that we've done and we're recognizing that we wouldn't have to feel this way maybe if we'd have done things differently. And the reason I bring that up now is because when you dropped to your knees and you surrendered to something, and it's your something, okay? You could sit here and you could define it, you could tell me what it is, and plain as day. But a lot of us have trouble figuring out what that something is. And then when at the end of the day, we need that something, and we might have, leaned on it 95% of the time. Well, when that 5% comes up, when we needed it and thought we could do it or power through it, that's where the holes are at. That's where when we're trying to create faith, we're not understanding why it's not working. And I say we because I've participated in this mistake before. And the reason I say that is because I thought for the longest time that faith was out there. I thought that if I believed in God, if I believed in the idea of this ultimate creator and that I was here to do the right things, that I should treat other people that way, and that I should believe in the idea that it's all going to work out. But there were times where I didn't necessarily question God because I believed strongly that God was there. I questioned myself, dude. And you know that I believe in this I am, we are process. And you know that I believe that it's this same thing. It's that we're both doing at the same time. But if that's the case, then where I fell short was by not recognizing that the spark within me was what I wasn't honoring. So if you want to call it God, that's cool. If you want to attach to associated religion that helps to make it a little clearer to you, that's cool too. But at the same time, if you don't align the thought, the feeling, and the emotion with the action and the intent, it just is very confusing because you think you're doing it because I thought I was doing it. I was like, I have faith in God. I know Jesus Christ, this and that. And it was like, and I thought I was doing it all right, except for the times where I started to negotiate things on my own. And when I realized that, yeah, maybe I should probably do it this way, but I think I might have a better way. So in the creation process, Jamar, if we're not quite at 100% surrender, because I got beaten into surrender, dude, I didn't get to choose it. You gracefully chose it. You said, God, I surrender. I surrender to you and I surrender to your will. For me, I was like, yeah, listen, God, I surrender and everything. And I totally believe in you. And that's great and all, but I want this my way. And God's all, well, I don't know what God was like in that moment, because I know that in the abundant moment, what it feels like. But when I decided to flip the coin, life got confusing. So I want you now to take what I've just shared with you, at least about how I've kind of grappled, and with your surrender, and try to make a nice little bridge for all of those out there that do believe, but for whatever reason, the details have made it really complicated. And now they need to create that because they need it now more than ever. Okay. But they're struggling because they're disappointed that they made the wrong decisions and that they probably knew it when they did. Well, how do we create with these people, Jamar? How do we create with our brothers and sisters that are like that?
When you look at it, the message, right? We're talking in two frequencies right now. We're talking a supernatural frequency, right? A spiritual frequency and a natural frequency. And you look at this as leadership, right? To teamwork. When you think about anything that's great that's going to be done, it's going to take multiple people playing their role, their position, bringing their superpower, their gifts to create the greater good of the team. And that alone takes faith to believe that your teammates, so for example, in that scenario about my dad, man, there were so many people that were involved. Dr. J's, his secretary, his staff, Dr. J. There was a woman that was helping figure out the insurance information. There was other people at the hospital that were caring for my dad. There were family members that were stepping up, supporting my dad. There were dad's friends that were coming by to make sure dad was okay. Our team was so strong, and there were so many different people that played as a team, right, to help dad. But it took faith to believe that all that was going to be happening, because one person, you can't do it all. So when you're shifting from actual leadership to teamwork, it takes that faith alone right there, man, to believe that the team, like, here, look at this here. Like, I have to have total faith that when we come into the space, that amazing tech team and her crew back there are going to make everything flow. I don't even question it. Like, I don't even wonder if things are going to flow when it comes to the tech side, because I just got faith that it's going to happen. I don't even wonder, are you going to step up and deliver? Because I just know with my faith that you're going to do the best you can. So it's like, when you're a leader and you're able to step into that teamwork capacity, it takes faith just to even understand and believe that the team is going to perform. And so also talking about another perspective of teamwork, once you really understand that we have unlimited access to a teammate that will give us what we need, as long as we acknowledge that, hey, he's on the team. Like that alone is a leadership to teamwork aspect, knowing that you're never by yourself. And so, yeah, we can lead self all day long, but how do you actually operate and create that teamwork environment? And if you look at any team, you think about the guy in the video, the race car driver. You got 30 people around there coming in 1.8 seconds, changing the tires, filling it up. He's gone. Like, he has to take faith that the dude on the front tire is not going to forget to bolt the tire down. It's like he got to have faith to believe that they're going to give him enough fuel so he can keep going. Like he doesn't even think about it. He just has the faith in the team that the team's going to do it. And so when you go from leadership to teamwork, man, I don't care how you want to define it. You gotta believe in other people that they're going to do their part, man. And like that right there is huge. That takes faith.
Okay, Jamar, this is perfect because literally you must just be telepathically hearing my thoughts because yeah, man, like faith and belief doesn't have to be attached to a dogma or religion, a spiritual faith or any of that. It can and it is, but at the same time, like it's more of an individualized thing. And when I mean individualized, I mean that it applies to not only the leader but also the team. So Jamar, where I want to transition this into is here I am, okay, trying to be a leader, knowing that I have the ability to do so. I'm struggling a little bit in knowing how to lead from this flawed perspective. And obviously, we're not going to focus on the flaws because that's not what you do when you lead. But it's almost like since you surrendered when you did, and you were able to accept your faith, and you could believe in something wholeheartedly so that it could deliver for you. You're energetically making that happen. When you did, that's good because you're locked in at 100%. Now, if I look back at the times where I decided to negotiate, it's not that I'm not locked in at 100% because I now am a leader and I'm leading this charge. But since I didn't do what you did, which was full surrender when it was probably important to do so that you're prepared and ready like you are now, I'm now trying to lead with like a half full, I don't know, weapon. I don't want to say weapon because I'm not leading with a weapon, but like I feel there's part of me that feels a little bit like not prepared or I get frustrated because I recognize that if I would have made a decision back then I'd be a better leader now. And I'm trying to just move through all these things, not only as a leader, but as a teammate and do it with everybody and not screw up. But I have all these, you never said any of that. You never said I'm trying. You never said not screw up. You just focused on the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that supported your faith. So even though I have this faith and I'm ready to surrender to it, now what the hell do I do?
Mm-hmm. Man, see, here's the thing, Coach D. We all have faith in something, right? And as leaders, right, you look at it here as when we're embarking on this leadership journey. And first and foremost, leadership ain't easy. I always say that. Leadership is not easy. And not everybody wants to be a leader. But I believe God created everyone to lead. And lead doesn't mean that you're at the top and telling everyone else at the bottom what to do. That's not leadership. You know, servant leadership is actually helping people go to areas and levels and accomplish things that they didn't think were possible. Right. And so that's leadership, you know, actually, you know, leading from the front and doing your best to be an example for others. But Coach D, I look at you as a leader, bro. I wouldn't be here if I didn't consider you a leader. And, you know, I think that as human beings, we're so critical and hard on self. So once again, we always talk about grace because grace is always there. We got to give self grace, man. You know, I look at you, you know how many people out there, Coach D, you know, you're doing more in your life than people who don't have the restrictions that you have. Right. You think about it, but you probably don't ever think about that. You're just looking
at it. That's great. But I'm a leader. I don't think about that stuff. So I don't want to screw up. Okay. That's where I'm at. I blew it in the past when I was developing my skill set. Now that it's time for me to perform, everybody believes that I'm just going to kick ass. And the bottom line is I'm definitely a good leader, but there's just some areas of my game.
It's all good. Hey, listen, we all got holes in the bucket, including me. Man, you know what I'm saying? Like just because, and once again, I want to share this too, obedience and surrendering are two different things. I could be more obedient. You know, I could definitely be more obedient, you know, so someone else can have maybe a different measure of faith than I have, but they might be more obedient than I am. Like, so we don't want to get discouraged and compare ourselves, our own journeys with each other. But when we look at the message right today, from leadership to teamwork, the teamwork of life, like tell me one thing that we can do where it doesn't require the help, the love, the support, the talents, the gifts of other people. If we want to do something greatness, if you want to be a hermit crab and live in the forest in a cabin and never talk to no one for the next 50 years, that's a different conversation. I'm not talking to you if you want to go do that. If you want to do that, go do it, baby. But not you, Coach D. I'm talking to whoever's listening out there. They want to go.
There are no caregivers in the forest.
Yeah. If you don't want to, you just want to go and just do that caveman thing, it's all good. That's your choice. But I'm talking about in the world we're in today, I think it is so important for us to not only be leaders, but to also tie in and do our best to create teamwork with everyone we connect with. And teamwork is so important, man. Teamwork is so important. And there's so many people out there that love to play in a team environment. Think about when you're talking about your football days, right? You weren't out there playing football by yourself. You were part of a team. And so you look at this here as us, we're the vested team. Like, this is not about any individual here. It's about us. It's about us giving light as a team to help more people. And so as leaders shift to teamwork, you can be a solo leader, but to be a leader and to also understand teamwork, man, that's a whole nother game.
All right, well, let's do this together, because I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate here, because I know where I would go with this question. But at the same time, moving on to empowerment, as we kind of wrap up our little ice here. Inspiration.
All right, stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with a brand new edition. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, flows like a harpoon daily and lightning.
That's off the cuff, bro. That's good. I love it. That was from your bones, dude. That was like from somewhere hidden in your gut, dude. So, but from an empowering perspective, dude, where I was trying to get you to go earlier and where I couldn't because your faith is strong was, okay, in this world, as we go out into the world, we're interacting with people in this I am, we are process that watch the evening news, that don't necessarily make the best decisions when it comes to their mental and emotional health. And they're frustrated, they're angry, they're disappointed, and now we're mingling with them. So from an empowerment perspective, if this is who we're leading, or maybe those are our leaders, what do we do to, as their brothers and sisters and as their teammates, whether they're on our team or on another team, how can we take this process of empowerment and implement it in a time where it's highly uncomfortable? Because I see a lot of opportunity, but at the same time, I would say I'm in the minority right now. A lot of people see a lot of chaos. I see opportunity, but as a leader, and we're leading a team of scared, frantic individuals, where's the empowerment here, Jamar? How are we going to empower as leaders and empower as fellow teammates?
Man, well, that's the best part about leadership to teamwork. If you want to have a badass, kick-ass team, we empower those around us and remind them, encourage them, praise them, and recognize them, empower them to do what they do, to stretch, to grow, to get uncomfortable, to take the lead, to lead from the front, to go through uncertainty, right? You want to talk about empowerment. Anyone that is around us, we want to empower them to just take action, that they can do it. There's what I love to say. You can do it. You ever call me and say me something? You tell me any idea, I'm gonna be like, you can do it. That's just how I want to empower someone, right? That they can do it. Now, ask me how you're gonna do it. I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but I'm gonna tell you, you can do it, because I just want to give that empowerment to someone, and that's what we can do in this world we're living in today, Coach D, especially in the COVID reflection as leaders, and we're creating this teamwork, is to really empower those around us. Really encourage people and tell people that don't tell people why they can't do something. Tell them they can do it. Tell them that, yeah, they are able. They are equipped. They do have the resources, right? They are smart enough. They are ready. Remember, fear, feeling excited and ready. So that empowerment, leaders, we empower other people by speaking life into them, right? And so, Coach D, you and I do that all the time. And that's why I'm grateful to have this space with you, man, because you not only inspire me, we're here creating together, but man, you empower me, and we're hopefully empowering other people out there to just do it, because they can do it.
All right, look, man, I appreciate you. I'm extraordinarily grateful for you, but I do, on the flip side, have to represent the other side of this, because
Dun,
they're
dun, dun, dun.
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's kind of how to turn lemons into lemonade, because it's all about flipping the question, flipping the perspective, flipping the understanding. So what if the idea of success means that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and that part of what it is that you're going through right now, and this, it's hard to look at empowerment from this angle, but there's value here, so I have to bring it up, because there's sometimes, no matter how you look at something, no matter how you meditate about it or pray about it or offer gratitude or love it, it just sucks. It just sucks. And there's nothing that's going to make it not suck. But understand that all bad things come to an end and good always follows. That's from my boy Daniel. I'm not stealing your quote, but I'm going to use it. Yeah, man. If you can understand a perspective of empowerment that involves patience, that involves humility, that involves experiencing discomfort in an effort to absorb it so that you can use it. Maybe right now it's not time for you to be comfortable. Maybe right now it's not time to experience success, like the video we watched in the very beginning. Maybe the discomfort that you're experiencing right now is the energy at the bottom end that you needed to motivate yourself to get you through to where you needed to go. So I believe that all the leaders that are, if you want to be a leader right now, boy, did you take a stressful time to be a leader, because this is it, baby. And honestly, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, you chose the worst time to lead right now.
You know what? In the 80s, man. At least they got to ride off into the ugly Mercedes.
This is the best time. Now, it doesn't mean it's the easiest time, right? You said success is messy. I don't want to cut you off, Coach T. That was good.
So hey, man, let's be real. Like, there's stuff that just sucks. There's stuff that just, no matter how you paint it, man, it's poop brown, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's just what it is. And it's like to sit there and try to paint over it and say that it's something and it's not. Like, I just honor everything that you say, and I do everything that I can to listen and absorb all that information, because I put it in my subconscious, because I reflect upon it in the times when I'm weak, Jamar. And I'm looking at it saying, sometimes people, you're going to have to experience a weakness and a sadness and a hurt. That's just part of the happiness soup, man. And you just need to be patient, and you need to accept it. And right now, it's not time for you to have the new, the best, the greatest. It's time for you to desire it and to pack it down and to use that as motivation, because there's value there. It's not always friggin' birthday cakes and friggin' home runs. It's just not.
And to find a team.
Yeah,
find a squad.
Yeah, there it is.
Find a tribe.
That's when you do it.
Bring it together. All right.
When you're standing all alone and you feel like crap, man, at least find another person you can feel good with them. You know what I mean? Now you have two people feeling good instead of one person feeling lonely and shitty.
And you know, real quick on this teamwork topic, you think about you and Rebecca, power couple, right? Like, think about the teamwork that you guys must have together as a team. Like that just alone is powerful, man. So if you're out there,
I honestly, like, it's humbling to say this, but like, I don't have two legs to stand on. I am a single leg. If I didn't have, I'm not a tennis player, I'm not a wrestler. If I didn't have a teammate and a team captain, because she's the captain, I always tell everybody she's the boss and I'm the assistant manager, because she was the spark that lit the pilot light, man. I mean, I can start a forest fire, but with no flame, baby, you're in bad shape. And I just, you know what, man, like, like when I was in a bad place, I found one person that I could be happy with. And we've just paved that way. We've joined together, and we've found a way to be able to create something totally different than what I had before I met her.
Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
So, hey, Jamar, as we kind of pull this together at the end of the show, I think it's important that we kind of like pull everything into perspective. I'm going to try to grab a guest next week that can show how to operate within a very tight situation with class, with style, with grace, and still maintain a high professional pedigree, and to be able to put out into the world something extraordinarily positive in situations that were very tight. And he did it with so much class and grace that nobody even knows what really went down. And I hope I can secure this interview. He's a friend of mine, and he would bring value to our show. So I have multiple people that could fit that category, but there's one in particular that I had in mind, and I'll probably send him this broadcast so you can kind of see what we're about.
Hey, Coach D, you know what? If you feel that way about him, then I support your thought process. And let's do it.
So, okay, then do me this. So this is our 12th episode. Wrap it up for me. Give me a synopsis of inspire, create, and empower, but do it in the framework of your faith and leader shifting to being a good team member.
One more time.
Okay, so
in short, give me a bullet point.
In short, inspire, create, and empower using your faith about how we're going to leader shift to be a good team player and a leader.
Hey, we just got to do it. That's it. We just got to do it, man. No, the reality is, as leaders, like we must empower others, right? And it takes faith. It takes some type of belief system, right, to believe in the people around you. And so here's Vested Community. Here's the question for you. Who's on your team? Do you believe in them? Does your team know that you believe in them? Are you communicating to your team that they are leaders on the team? See, right now in the world we're living in right now, Vested Community, we got to have a power team. We got to have strategic partnerships, collaborations. There's so much talent out there because every single person has talent. So who's on your team? What kind of team do you want? Create a team. Put it together. Make it happen. What do you want to do? Pull the resources from people. Ask people to help you, support you. What do they think about this? What do they think about that? And just put it together and watch what happens. Remember, as we move forward, the road will appear. You know, Coach D. So looking at that, and that alone, it takes some kind of faith to believe that you can make it happen, even when you don't have all of the plan laid out in front of you.
Well, Jamar, inspiration comes in many different forms. You can take grace, you can choose karma, but either way, at some point you're going to be the leader. At some point you're going to be the teammate. One way or another, you got to find inspiration at some point within yourself so that you can share it with others. You can create with your team as a leader or as a teammate by accepting things as they are and to try to move through them mindfully so that at some point, man, it starts to make sense. And you know what? Empowerment isn't always easy.
Yeah.
Empowerment, you sometimes have to earn, and there might be times where it's so difficult that you forget the goal. But the bottom line is you, in that moment, find a time to lift yourself up and empower yourself in the moment, even if it doesn't feel good. And through that, you become stronger. When you become stronger, you callous up. You can not only serve yourself, but you can serve others. But at the end of the day, there's one thing that is absolutely necessary. You have to ask yourself one question. Jamar?
Are you vested?